Quashan introduce himself and tell you all what he's doing.
I'm better known as Q. Since I got down to Atlanta, nobody could remember my first name. So if you want to refer to me, please refer to me as Q or Sean. I'm from New Jersey. I've been down here since 2008. Like Thad said, towards the latter years of my college career, I was put with Thad, and he had a program going on helping young black men get into the appraisal field, and I took advantage of it. And I didn't stick with it. I got my appraisal license, but I didn't stick with the career all the way because I'm more of an entrepreneur at heart. So I tried different things in my 20s, which led me to today where I'm currently managing a title search business. I utilize AI and I utilize virtual assistants to help make processes efficient and streamline them up. I wish I can go through a presentation because it's easier to demonstrate than to elaborate. But I use AI for almost everything. I'm a chat GPTer to the fullest, and I try out little things like Gemini and Copilot and stuff like that. But my life is really booked in chat GPT to the point where I talk to it about almost everything. Health stuff that I got going on. It'll read my doctor's records and let me know what better ways I can eat and build a grocery list. I'm writing a book on chat. I'm writing a book with ChatGPT, or basically, let me just say I'm composing a book with ChatGPT. And for my entrepreneurial side, I utilize it to read deeds, contracts, liens, any type of encumbrance that I'm not familiar with. It'll help tune that learning curve exponentially. And ever since I've been using ChatGPT, I've been doing the work of a solopreneur, but it feels like I got 10 people on my team. So I'm a true advocate of AI and using it in everything. Any type of advice you ever needed about something, you don't have to call Thad anymore. You can just go straight to ChatGPT about your appraisal question. Sorry, Thad.
Do you have a number where they could reach out to you for your services?
Yeah, sure. You can 404-585-1597. That's my direct cell phone line. You can call or text anytime. If you have a business and want to utilize AI and implement it into your current operations, I can definitely help consult in that area. And I'm just willing to help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. White.
Yes, sir. I don't talk much, but when I do talk, I can get a little long-winded, and I know
we ain't got a long time. We need to make this count.
Understood. Thaddeus was a little discriminatory against long-winded people, even though I would argue that he is one himself. But anyway, I'm from North Carolina. I got a construction and landscaping background. Pretty much kind of just grew up doing landscaping and construction, and so Greensboro, North Carolina, that's where I grew up. So when I was like in high school, I was riding around with a lawnmower hanging out the back of a '94 Honda, just kind of like knocking on people's doors and trying to get service and kind of build a business. And believe it or not, I still kind of do that to this day. And so I was a first generation college student. I actually was at Morehouse, started off at Morehouse. And so I went there my freshman year, and then when I came back my sophomore year, I was walking around campus with pretty much nowhere to go. I had all my stuff, but being a first-generation college student, I wasn't able to afford tuition and housing. And so I actually moved off campus, and that was like my blessing into real estate. And so I met a lady named Miss Hill, and she had like 20 properties like all around the campus. And so I pretty much like kind of stayed there until like the middle of my sophomore year. And so that's when I kind of like made a business decision to kind of transfer to Georgia State. They was offering me some money, so I kind of went there. And then, from there, I
When did you
graduated.
get to the appraising part?
Got it. Yeah, I graduated in 2014. Immediately went to grad school. I didn't like it. It was kind of, a lot, and so wasn't happy. And then I ended up going, meeting a general contractor. And so he offered me a position to kind of open up my own construction company back home where I was from Greensboro, North Carolina. And so then COVID hit. I want to say I did like 500K in my first year in contracts, and I was still broke. And so that was like my welcome into the business world. And from there, COVID hit, and we kind of had to shut down operations and everything. I came back here in 2021 with nothing but a truck and a dream, and so I ended up going and meeting a guy who had an Airbnb, because I came down here with just trying to get everything situated. And so I did a couple of things for him. We did some landscaping jobs together. And then from there, he was like, what else can you do? And so we actually did some construction jobs together. And then, we became really, really good friends. And I found out that he wasn't actually the property manager, which was what he introduced himself as. He actually owned all these properties that we was working on. And so that kind of like threw me into like the whole project management, real estate world. And so from there, I started going to I started going to networks. I did the whole YouTube university and everything like that. And from there, I met somebody else who was actually in real estate. And so they kind of just like introduced me
Get to the appraising.
Yes, sir. And so they kind of like just like kind of laid me down the path and introduced me into everything as far as like wholesaling and stuff like that. And so this is where the appraising part comes. This is where the appraising parts come in. I was actually working on a property out in Hampton, Georgia. And I actually was just doing my thing. After I finished the yard, I went and started knocking on doors, just passing out my card and things like that. And I actually met a couple who were looking to sell their property. And so they had over like 5 acres on a house, which was kind of like I guess what you would say, a complex assignment. And so I had everything. I set it up. I had an investor that loved the whole property and everything. And he said, all you got to do is get an appraisal. And I was like, a what? A who? I had no idea what it was. And so from there, I was calling around just like local appraisers in Hampton, Georgia. And I ended up on the phone with some big company who had a real estate agent who actually got on the phone. And next thing I knew, the couple was listed with the real estate agent. So that was like my welcome into the world. But from there, I could just kind of like researched on appraisal, and I loved everything about it. And so I got into a couple of groups, started networking. I met Janae through a Facebook group. She told me about Quest Advisors, which is where I recently just started my apprenticeship. I actually did have an interview with Quest before I started all the classes, and I just wasn't ready. And so came back a couple of years later, passed all my courses, had all the classes done, and so Quest has given me a chance, and that's kind of how I got into appraising. Long-winded story to get there.
Man, we got there though. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So how did me and you get connected?
So I actually reached out to Thaddeus on Facebook. I think it was LinkedIn. Might have been. Yeah, I think it was LinkedIn. I reached out to him.
Wouldn't leave me alone.
Yeah, along with the hundreds of other appraisers I reached out to. But he did always, he got back to me when he could. And so I really appreciate that. And I've been following Thaddeus for a long time. And everything he doing and stand for, it gives people from where I'm from hope. And so I love everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Miss Janae?
Hi, everybody. I'm Janae. I knew I wanted to be in real estate ever since I was in high school.
Is that last year?
No, it was around like 2009. And I went to my counselor, and she said, you need to pick something else because the market isn't doing good right now. And I was like, okay, what about interior designing? And she was like, nobody's going to want to fix their house if they don't have any money. So I chose pharmacy. I went to Georgia Perimeter and took those pharmacy classes. It was like chemistry, 3-hour labs, which is worth 1 credit. I was like, and then I had to take 5 of them. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I was like, give me the closest degree out of here, which is business. At the time, I was still working at the post office. I've been there 8 years, 8 long years. And I read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which like changed my entire mindset on, business and real estate. And what I learned from that book is that in order to be where I want to be, I got to get advice from somebody I would like to trade places with, and not somebody that's going to speak to me with a fear-based mindset. So I went back to school and got my degree in real estate, and it was a breeze. I excelled in it. And after I got my degree, I was hired at Quest. I had to network because I was like looking everywhere, looking online. It was just telling you how hard it was to find somebody like a mentor. And I was just like, okay, I just got to network. I went to several networking events. I met this guy named Bruce Kellogg. He introduced me to Marlon Day and Matt Jackson, and like I had an interview with them, and they took me on. So I was working overnight at the post office and appraising during the day. Then I wanted to go back to school to get my master's degree in Master's of Science in Commercial Real Estate. And I quit the post office. I let it go against the wish of my
How
grandparents.
hard was that? We had lots of conversations about that.
It was hard because I was listening to my grandparents. They retired from the post office, and it did them really well. So they was like, no, don't quit, stay there. I was like, no, I hate it. So
I think she struggled with that for at least, 2 years.
Yeah, 'cause
we talked about it back and forth. And it was, I was really proud of her, but she was working too many hours, and she was doing really good work, but she was still holding down that full-time job at the post office. But she really wanted the appraising, and so it was just a really, really rough decision. And then she made the decision, and most people don't have that kind of courage to follow their dreams. They take the safe route. And she just kind of just jumped out there and did it. So I was just really impressed by her. And then she figured out she didn't like appraising.
I actually changed my mind. I want to go back to appraising. I like the autonomy.
Yeah, but she was working on her master's degree, and not to cut you off, but she's just so amazing. And then when she started underwriting hotel stacks for CB, it was utilizing all of those skills that she had learned and putting them all into play. So now I think we might be able to get her back as an appraiser, but she's got a multitude of experiences and a hell of a lot of courage, and I just like to always applaud and champion her.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Anything else?
Oh, no, that's
Okay.
it.
All right, so then we're going to come over here to Bridget. Bridget is, she was an HR professional in her past life, and she wanted to be an appraiser. And she was networking with somebody else who reached out to me, and I'll let Bridget tell the story.
Yeah, so I'm Bridget, everybody. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I'm from Atlanta. I had about 5 years as a firefighter. Then I did 10 years plus in HR, in civilian and military. And I don't know, I just wanted something different, especially as you grow and your priorities change. You want something different, and so I needed something that kind of aligned with what I wanted, in my adulthood. And of course, that aligned with what I needed for my family. And so it took me about 3 years. I researched different careers, and I ran into appraising. I had my house appraised a couple of times, and I asked, the guys about their jobs. Most of them were men, but all of them loved it. Nobody had any complaints about it, and so I just started doing my research there. And then around COVID, I decided, okay, it's time for me to just kind of step out. So before I quit my job, I went ahead and got my qualifying education. I started networking because I instantly saw that there were barriers to entry, which is finding a supervisor. Mainly, that's the hardest part, and it's a steep learning curve. But I knew that would be a challenge. I knew that's something I had to just kind of, get through. But in that process, before quitting my job, I started looking for a supervisor. Again, I finished my education. It took me about a year total before I found Thaddeus. And once I found him, I quit my job. It was a hard decision, because I spent, like I said, 10 years plus in human resources, and it was lucrative. But I didn't desire it anymore. And so, I found Thaddeus, and I'm here now working in it, and it's challenging, but it's also rewarding. You have to be humble, you have to be persistent, you have to be committed, and as long as you do those things, I think that there's no way but to go up. And so I'm in it, I'm working, I'm grinding, and I know it's gonna pay off in the next few years. And that's my story.
Well, thank you, Bridget. And next to Bridget, we got Bridget. We have two Bridget, Bridget and Bridget Joy.
So hello everyone, my name is Bridget Joy. My story is, I guess, way different, so that's why I'm on the right. But I hail from Brooklyn, New York. My family and I moved down here a few years ago. And I left a relatively good job, because to me, good is relative to whom you're speaking with. So I left a relatively good job in New York City as a training coordinator for New York City Transit. I did that for almost 10 years. It was very rewarding, but I got burnt out because training people and like managing people and supervising people is very stressful. So I decided to move. We moved down here. I didn't really know where I was going to go with that. I started in optical, actually, being an optician for a little while. And then I had purchased when we came down here. And one of the first things I got was a tax bill. So the tax bill had me a little distraught because it wasn't what I thought that it would be. So I went down to my county, and I'm all Brooklyn, and I was like, bring it down. So I went into the office, and I'm talking to them about it, and they said, well, a bill is a bill, ma'am. A bill is a bill. And I was like, okay. So they said, well, if you had started from your annual notice of assessment, which is concerning your appraisal, then you can start from there, and it would help with your bill. I didn't know what that was. I'm a first-time homeowner. And so I just kind of was like, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to get a job with the county, seeing what I could do. And hey, so said, so done. I applied with the local tax assessor. I applied for about 3 different counties, and I ended up in Clayton. Most of the people, even my director that hired me, he said most of the people in the department come from other industries, not necessarily from the appraisal standpoint. And so he's like, if you're a people person and you know how to, just move, you'll be fine. It's a big learning process. And so far, I mean, it's brand new industry to me. I'm still working my way up to getting my level 3. Because I was hired in a level 3 position, so they give you 2 years for each one, and the county trains you. You go take your classes to do county appraisal, which has also led me to my passion project, which is called Not Just Drinks, where I'm pretty much a community advocate. I've always been a community advocate, even in New York City. And so meeting people here and working in the capacity of the tax assessor's office, people really don't understand how their appraisal works, how the tax process works, how their mortgage works, and I'm just like astonished by that. So that led me to, like I said, Not Just Drinks, which We kind of just meet people where they are in the community. And it's not just drinks for me, because I'm a woman of a certain age, even though I don't look like it. And I'm trying to do more by uplifting my community. And so my space is real estate space. And it just so happens to be in appraisal, so.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody here on this super dynamic young appraisers in the profession panel. Does anybody have any questions before we?
I work in healthcare, and a lot of what my work is about keeping patients safe, including medical errors. And some of it means like exploring our building and facilities, like checking for things that might come on patients, like aware of knowledge that I know is like there's 13 generators in my hospital. I want to be able to like do appraisals for like healthcare spaces and clinics and things like that. So what route would that look like?
That's going to be a question for the next panel.
Okay.
Does anybody have any more questions? I'm going to let them go, and we're going to try to be respectful of time. We're going to go beyond the time because this next panel is extremely dynamic. So we usually supposed to stop at 1. Rick, is it okay if we keep on going at 1? It ain't no rules to this. And I would be remiss to let you all get away from here without hearing this next panel. So we're going to change right now, take a break, and I guess we'll come back at 1 o'clock, 5 minutes to 1. Folks need time to get some more refreshments from Chef Tiffany and Trey.